Good day to you wherever you are watching this video from. And in this video, we'll have a conversation around how to develop a good questionnaire. How to develop a good questionnaire. And like I always said, there are a lot on this channel that could benefit you. So I would love you to like and subscribe to our videos. In this video, one of the things I will first talk about is the history of questionnaire. You know, it's one of the instruments that is called queries around the 1500s, and it emerged from documents called queries, interrogatories, formulatories, gathered natural and socio-political data. And from the formats of printed circulars and itemized list introduced format data used for modern questionnaire. So the term questionnaire emerged in the late 19th century, first in French, then across Europe. So that is the brief history. Now, let us start with when you want to develop a good questionnaire. The first thing that is requested is that you should do a literature review. For instance, you want to develop a questionnaire on maybe customer satisfaction, student perception of parental involvement, and other type of uh, data that we usually gather for different fields. When you do a literature review, the literature review will give you information whether the particular questionnaire you want to actually develop from the scratch, that means creating a new, is available. So when it is available and they have developed it, they have validated it, they have used it, they have tested it, you can now decide to adapt it. That means you adjust validated instruments from authorities to fit to the context, to your context and population, or adopt it. You use it like that. That means validated questionnaire as is as is as it as is when they match your objective and sample. You are in Europe and they are talking about African immigrants emotional struggle, and you want to bring it to America. You know, if they come to job and the payment, when you are adopting, you are using that same questionnaire in Europe, you may need not to do a lot of adjustments, but when you adjust any part of a questionnaire, you are adapting it. And when you uh, adjust, you do not adjust, you use as it is, you are actually adopting it. So literature review will give you information whether you are to adopt or to adapt what is available. And literature review will also give you information whether you are to develop a new one, given that the available instruments do not suit your intended purpose. So let's assume that you are even adopting or adapting. One of the things that must be considered is the respondent characteristics, and this is very important. So this will give us the information on how the respondents are. For instance, if you want to discuss a work, you want to administer a questionnaire to women in village markets on their village market days and how they cope with their spouse's demand, on with how they balance the home front and the market. You know that it is different for if you want to talk about undergraduate students, how they cope with their boyfriends on campus, the wordings, the characteristics of the respondents will determine what it is there. Now, for instance, some questionnaire has about 58 items. You know, a local woman may not be freely disposed to respond to all the items. But one thing I would love to stress is that before now, there are always intermediaries between the questionnaire and those who fill it. So, in the context of local people, you may decide to have somebody who will help them to fill it and they will give the necessary information to the person. But it is not good to give too much of item to people whose characteristics will likely not to fill it. Now, the next thing is to ask, how do we group the items together? Do I put the demographic data in the front? People will first see it, or put it last? You know, what is going to be my opening statement? All these are the things that are in the table of specification, which is very important part of the process of gathering our questionnaire, as it were. So within the frame of our thoughts, it is very important that we give attention to the process of gathering the data. Now, when we have done our specification table, the next thing is to decide what the response format will be. Is it on the scale? For example, the most popular is the Likert scale, which could be 4, 5, and 6, and 10. So we have to decide if the response will be nominal or ordinal. For instance, nominal responses could be yes or no. Ordinal responses is maybe frequently, often. Maybe you are checking frequency of doing something, frequency of going to the gym, and you have often, seldom. That is ordinal. That means there is a order. You have to do that. Another thing is that you have to label the response option clearly and don't give range. This is what it means if you are to give range. You now say, when you use a software, you will see they will put stars, and you can just put, you don't know the number, the meaning of the star, but you know that the one in the middle is talking about average rating. The one at the far end is the highest rating. The one at the beginning. That is the wrong way to administer questionnaire. If there is a particular response, let them know that that particular response is for strongly agree or disagree. Let them know. Don't let it be an assumption that, oh, it is agree or disagree. You know, then for labeling, you have to avoid assigning numerical values to label so that they won't see it. Let them just see often. If often is 4, don't put often 4 there. Don't let them see the numerical values, and avoid ranges, you know. Then don't allow, ensure that the spacing between the responses are the same. Make sure that it is fits well so that nobody will assume that the spaces is for another one. And when some items are non-substantive, such as I prefer not to say or undecided, let them be further away from other responses. So when you have done all of those, I will do another video on item development in that questionnaire, because there is a way you have to word your item. For instance, using conjunction and will make two statements not to be valid in a particular questionnaire. So it is very important we have the knowledge of that. But this video is not for that. But the next thing is to uh, check for validation. You can first show the finished developed questionnaire or the adopted one or the adapted one to an expert. Let that expert check for you whether what you have done is in line with what is acceptable in that. The next thing is that you can do a response validation. It means that you could actually give the intended respondent the very questionnaire, and you can interrogate them. Let them respond to the questions like in their own thinking. Is the questionnaire suitable? Is it adequate? Is it appropriate? Without responding, then you can do a pilot test for the questionnaire so that people can determine whether the data, you can check for the reliability value. So you can do that. The reliability value, you can use Cronbach alpha method. You can do an exploratory factor analysis and the confirmatory factor analysis to confirm the scale structure and measurement quality. All these tests, which we would actually address separately in another video, will give us information whether the items that are in a construct are actually measuring what they need to measure. Because in a questionnaire, let's say the questionnaire is measuring attitude. As far as we are concerned, attitude is actually what we call the latent variable. That means we can't measure the attitude by climbing any scale, but the observed variable are the items related to attitude. So it is the summation of the observed variable that gives us the latent. So item 1, item 2, item 3, 4, 5, 6 can be related to attitude. So it is the summation. So this exploratory factor analysis and confirmatory factor analysis shows us the structure and measurement quality of the scales and the subscales so that we can actually determine whether what we have done is good or not. Next to this is the final checklist, in such a way that you check whether the question align with the study aims and construct, whether the appropriate format is used, whether the response is fit. These are the things that you must check. As soon as you check this and you do a pilot testing and other psychometric analysis, you have come to the end of how to develop a good questionnaire. Kindly like and subscribe to all our videos. Thank you.